This is the One Girl Revolution podcast, a podcast that highlights the stories of world-changing women and girls across the country. We hope that these stories inspire you, but even more so, we hope that these stories help you to see your own value, your purpose, and your power to change the world through your life. Every woman and girl is a One Girl Revolution. On this week's episode of the One Girl Revolution podcast, I'm honored to welcome Dr. Mary Welsh, co-founder of Susie Q's Kids, a nonprofit organization that provides comfort bags for people in need. After experiencing the heartbreaking loss of her daughter, Susie, Dr. Mary turned her grief into action and created an extraordinary organization that brings comfort and joy to children in need. Susie Q's Kids provides custom-designed comfort bags filled with items like blankets, toys, and essentials to children in foster care, shelters, and hospitals. These thoughtful bags are designed to bring a smile and a sense of belonging to kids facing difficult circumstances. Through her incredible work, Dr. Mary honors Susie's memory and continues her legacy through this work and reminds us all of the transformative power of love and kindness. Listen to this week's episode to hear Dr. Mary share her story, her journey, the impact of Susie Q's Kids. She talks about Susie and what an incredible story Susie has and how her legacy continues through Susie Q's Kids and how each of us can make a difference in the lives of children and individuals in need. Here's my conversation with Dr. Mary. Dr. Mary, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Hello. Glad to be here.
I am so excited to have you on. There is so much that I want to talk about. I want to hear more about your own story. I want to talk about your daughter, Susie, because she has an incredible story. And then, of course, Susie Q's Kids. You're doing such incredible work, and Susie's legacy lives on through the work that you're doing. So I want to talk about all of that. But before we get into that, I would love to hear a little bit about your own story. So if we could just take a moment and rewind and have you share a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and just a little bit about your own journey.
Life has been good. Life has really been good. I was married and I have three beautiful kids, two daughters and a son. And as life ebbs and flows, that marriage ended and opened the door for another marriage to open up. And I met my husband in my dreams, and his name is Joe. So Joseph and Mary. Uh, and he had three daughters. And so a truly blended family that we have, and I was very thankful for what we built between us. So we have six kids, we have five grandchildren, one more on the way, due in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, so very exciting, little baby girl. I have a background in education. I love education. So I have my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate from Welsh College, and my doctorate is in strategic executive leadership. So I love molding the next level of people that are coming up behind me so that they can create and sustain good businesses and just really have a good oversight of what's going on. So I teach at the university level, and I love dealing with the next level of students that are going to be running our businesses for us in our organizations.
That's really incredible. And it's so important for the younger generations to have that mentorship. I think that's one thing that's often lacking in our world. People have great ideas, and not even the younger generations. I feel like life is full of many chapters, and you're a great example of that. I'm a great example of that, but we need support systems. And so it's just incredible what you're doing to really support and mentor these up and coming entrepreneurs. And I know you're also a mover and shaker and involved in so many different community efforts, and you're very supportive of other organizations and helping them in the same ways that you're helping these students. So it's just such a great example to all of us that we can all do something. We all need to support one another, right? Like, you also co-founded this incredible organization, but that doesn't stop you from helping and supporting other people, which is really beautiful.
Yeah, we're better together.
It's so true. It's so true. Well, I want to talk about, I know you have, multiple kids, you have this new grandbaby coming. It's such an exciting time, but I want to zero in and talk about your daughter, Susie, because she is a big part of how you and I connected, me learning about Susie Q's kids and the great work that you're doing. What can you tell me about Susie and her journey?
Uh, Susie was my youngest, and she was very upset that she found out that one of her stepsisters is actually younger than her. She's not the baby. She was not the baby anymore. It was funny, um, but she always smiled. The kid always smiled. She had the best outlook on life. Uh, she would walk into a room and she would just light it up. Everybody knew Susie and knew about Susie. And Susie had a way about her. And when we had her, she passed away. But when we had her funeral, the funeral director came up and said, we were going to win a prize. We won a prize. I said, for what? And he said, you have 49 presentation style boards, the ones that flip open for a science exhibit, full of your daughter. And there's not one picture where she's not smiling. I said, you won't find one. And he said, you have challenged everybody that came in the room with that exact thing to go and experience her life. And that was just a true testament to she had a challenged life, but she still smiled all the time. So that was her legacy that we wanted to continue, right?
Yeah, well, and she suffered greatly. I think her example is so important to all of us, going in and out of hospital visits, as I understand it. And she ended up passing away from sepsis. So she had infections throughout her life. And that must have been so difficult and painful for her. And even seeing some of the photos that you shared with me and some of the photos on the website, thinking about what she was going through, but then on the flip side, she was so joyful. There isn't a single picture on the website that she's not smiling. And I think that that's such a great example. And I can only imagine the example that that was even to other people that were in the hospital, seeing her joy. And I know there was a story that you had told in one of the interviews that I had watched just about how, if she saw someone in the hospital hallway, next thing you'd turn around and they were in coloring with her or playing games, and she just had this magnetism about her as well.
Yeah, her mainstay was a teddy bear, a lap blanket, and a coloring book. And if you smiled, made any kind of contact, yep, you were going to be coloring with her. I went back a couple of years after she had passed because I wanted to find one nurse. And she had talked to the cleaning people, the serving people, the people that did the linens. I mean, she talked to everybody. And I walked in, and people come running up and say, "Oh, you're Susie's mom. You're Susie's mom. We miss her so much." And that they still had pictures that they had colored with her. That's amazing that you have that kind of an impact, and that's what she did. Those four walls could have sucked the life out of her, but she didn't let it.
She also had such a heart for suicide awareness and suicide prevention because she had lost friends and family members to suicide. Can you talk about that? I know that she really, that was really on her heart too, to love
Yeah.
people.
She was in a lot of pain, and we had lots of discussions because we had been touched, our lives had been touched that way. And so we are the Community Partner of the Year for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. We man the children's tents at a lot of their walks, and we listen and we offer hope and healing. We encourage people to say their names, say it loud, say it proud, to really just look at it and start the dialogue. And so Susie and I had long discussions, and she said she was here because the Lord and I was here, and that's what she needed to do. But she gave me a blessing because she said when it was her time, just to react, not to even think about it, to let her go. And so when they said she was terminally ill, and they had, unfortunately, she had coded and they had put her on life support, which I promised I would never do, she made the decision so easy for us because it was her wishes that we were supporting. And so we suicide awareness and prevention, we open the discussion with kids in schools and youth groups, and we have many people have come up and said, thank you, you saved our lives. Her conversation, her legacy lives on so many different planes. It's really amazing.
So many different levels. And like you said, even seeing the joy in her face, looking at the photos, I think that joy is such an important thing. And community, right? Like what you're doing through Susie Q's Kids is obviously bringing joy to so many people and also building community. I think that's something that all of us need, when we're looking at the world or our own lives, and we can all have these moments of loneliness and these deep dark moments, and it's so important for us to find moments of joy, find community, find support, and you're really doing that in so many different ways. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number One Girl REVO. We're on TikTok at One Girl Revolution, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel at One Girl Revolution. That's the number One Girl Revolution. You can find all of our social media links, previous podcast episodes, our Emmy-nominated documentary series, and more on our website at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com. But I want to talk about Susie Q's Kids. So Susie passes away. And then I know for her birthday, that's kind of where the idea for Susie Q's Kids came about. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, she passed in June of 2017, and her birthday came around in August. Now, she had 5 siblings, and she had 5 nieces and nephews, and she had a raft of adopted whoever, best friends, whatever. Everybody was family. She adopted everybody. And so they were all trying to figure out how they could, celebrate her. And I said, you know what? She had a young foster friend when she was little, Felicia, and we're going to honor the 2 of these girls by making some bags for foster kids on her birthday. So go shopping and take your kids, your grandkids, yourself, and really let's make another child smile. And the nugget of Susie Q that day was amazing. We probably had 80 people, 3 to 90s in their 90s that day, making things, talking, sharing pictures. And we made 50 bags. And we had a raft of other stuff to take with us to a local foster care agency. But one little girl came up and showed me a Barbie doll and said, "Isn't she beautiful?" And I said, "Oh, she's gorgeous." And she said, "I went to the store. I looked at all of the dolls. She was the prettiest. If I like her, another little girl's going to love her." And all I could think of was that was philanthropy at its purest form. Purest, right? And then we went to the agency and we dropped them off. And the executive director said to me, "You don't know what you're doing." And I remember looking to see if I had my shoes on because I was in total grief walking around. And he said, "We're going to use these bags as an opener for dialogue with other agencies across our state. So they're not going to help one child. They're going to help numerous families across the state learn about our program and how we can help them and the resources that we have and the therapists and the teachers and all those things." And I thought, wow, that's really making an impact beyond just a child smiling with a teddy bear. And so Susie Q's Kids was founded on that premise, right? So we create comfort bags. They have a panda bear, a blanket. They get a drawstring bag that has coloring books, crayons, Uno cards, Play-Doh, stickers, Matchbox cards, just activity items, right? And we give them to other nonprofits because we want them to be able to take advantage of food, clothing, therapy, whatever those resources are that we can't provide. And so that's why we use nonprofits. So they go to hospitals, hospice, shelters, foster care, grieving centers, autism centers. They go to schools, camps. They're in the deputies' cars. They're at Ronald McDonald House. They're all over wherever there's a kid in need, we try to fulfill that request, right? That's making an impact. We have helped over 16,000 kids.
Wow. It's
And
incredible.
it's incredible, right? And so I say that we're just a hub, that we collaborate with so many different levels with so many different people. So we talked about the suicide awareness prevention. We use our conversations about giving to go into schools, and we do lunch and learns and talk to them about how they can recognize their moments, how it's okay not to be okay, how you can flip your script, how you're amazing, all the different things of power, positivity, right? And then once we started that dialogue, then I ask them, what kind of kids do they want to help? And so I just mentioned a whole raft of kids, right? And so they may say foster kids. Well, then I ask, how do you want to do it? And they might do penny wars, they might do volleyball tournaments, they might do collection drives, whatever they can do, or if they can't do it, then we just do service with them and we have them help make the bags. So it's a holistic approach that they're getting self-help, philanthropy, service. We always teach gratitude at the end, how to give a thank you and accept a thank you, to be grateful for what we have and the impact we're having on others. Um, and so it really is a wonderful program that has developed on many different levels. So we work with Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, American Heritage Girls, churches, schools, wherever. We have Macomb Intermediate School District, the older autistic kids are making component bags. So if the bags go to a shelter, for example, they get a hygiene kit with full bottles of shampoo, toothpaste, toothbrush, all the necessities that they need. If it goes to an autism center, we make sensory components. So the squishies, the squashies, the pulls, the slaps, the poppers, all those different things. If it goes to a grieving center, then part of my journey involved intense therapy, and my therapist encouraged me to write a book. So I did write an adult book in a journal, but I'm most proud of my children's book that answered all the questions my grandchildren asked. Angel Susie is the narrator at 5 different age levels, and I call it a concept starter, and that goes into our grief bags. And then I wrote a coloring book that is based on the power of positivity and good characteristics to model. So guess what? That goes into all of our bags. We want them to be generous, to be kind, to be awesome, to know that there's other people out there encouraging them. We still give them Paw Patrol or Peppa Pig, right? But maybe that'll sink in a little bit. So it's
Yeah.
kind of really a holistic approach.
It's really incredible. And as you were talking, I'm thinking about even the ripple effect, right? Like where you're able to help a child, but thinking about how that can just impact their lives, or you're able to help a family, how that can impact their future. And then also all the people that are volunteering with you, the ripple effect, right? Like when we do one thing, it can impact the way that we live our lives, being joyful, helping someone else can give us more perspective on our own lives. And it's so important. I don't know how you do all that you do, because as you were talking, I'm like, how do you pack all these bags? But you must have an incredible support system. And obviously, working with groups like the Girl Scouts and all of that, like you have a lot of support.
Yeah, our program really is to engage kids and helping kids. So that is that next level of generation that we want to entice them to be good philanthropists, good service agents. I had one little group came in, brownies, and I also showed them business side. So I showed them my inventory and what was bought and what was in-kind product and the shipping part of it. And they asked a lot of questions. And one little girl said, how many kids have you helped? And at that time, I think we were about 12,000. I said, well, is 12,000 a little number or a big number? And they all said something different. But the one girl said, well, it all depends. And I said, that's the right number, the right answer. And I said, so if I told you we helped 12,000 kids at that time, what would you say? That's amazing. That's such a big number. And I said, but wait a minute. We made 12,000 kids smile. But take a look around this room. Are you guys all smiling? Yeah. Wait a minute. Your parents, are your parents smiling? Yeah. I said, so for every bag, if I multiplied it times 2, that would be a big number. That would be 36,000, right? Oh my God, that's humongous. The ripple effect. You don't think about it, but all the people that touched everything that we collected or that we, touched and put into bags or that we passed out, that helped the nonprofits that are, maybe they're having a giveaway or they're having, whatever their program is and however they want to give them away, that's up to them. But we know that we make an impact. At Christmas time, I flipped through Facebook and there was one of our shelters that we had given bags to, and our bags with the panda bear sticking out of it lined their Christmas tree next to Santa Claus. I didn't know that. They choose how they use them, but did we make an impact that morning? Absolutely, right? Anytime we can make an impact.
You're making such an incredible impact, and there's so many different ways that people obviously can get involved in your work, and we're going to talk about that. But before we get into that, Mary, is there a story or two? I know you've shared some stories as we've kind of been going through this interview, but is there a story or two that you can share about someone who has been helped by the work of Susie Q's Kids? You talked about people volunteering and obviously the joy that it brings to them. But is there a story or two of someone who you've worked with through Susie Q's Kids that you can share?
Sure. There's actually a couple, and it just kind of shows the magnitude of how everything kind of comes together. So we're the community partner of the year for the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and we man that children's area. So really just offering hope and healing and active listening, right? And encouraging them to tell their stories and whatnot. And we had a family that came and we talked to them and we had a good conversation. And the next year they came back, and the next year and the next year. And last year, this young lady come running towards our tent, and she says, "Do you remember me? Do you remember me?" And I said, "Absolutely. Don't remember your name. Won't remember your name tomorrow, right? I'm bad with names." I said, "But I remember you." And she said, "I had to come home to honor my dad and to see Dr. Mary and get my picture with Dr. Mary. Because I always tell everybody, and I want you to do it with me. I want you to put your thumbs up in the air. Can you do that for me? So you smiled. I don't know. It's a knee-jerk thing. I don't know what it is, but it connects, right? Whenever you take a picture, if you put your thumbs up in the air, I tell young kids it could be their mom and dad is in a different house. It could be Nan and Papa in a different state. It could be their silly, goofy friends that are sitting on either side of them. You get to name your thumbs. For those of us that might have lost somebody, mine represents my daughter and my mom. And so whenever I take a picture, thumbs up, right? When I look back on the picture, they are in every silly selfie. They're at every birthday, graduation, wedding, whatever the occasion is. And so my suicide walks, they always come back to get pictures taken with me year after year. And this young lady said to me, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad to see you. And I said, just so you know, I remember. I said, how many years has it been? 3 or 4? She said 4. And I said, your dad died the week before the first walk. And we had a long conversation. And the next year you came back and you told me you heard my voice during every first that you experienced, and that I had told you that I would be okay. And I need to come back and share that story with you. And the very first time I realized that I was telling that story, just before they started the walk, I said to my husband, oh my goodness, that family over there just lost their dad and they're smiling and they're taking pictures with their thumbs up." And he started laughing at me. He said, "Will you just span the audience?" And there they were, moms, daughters, all different, victims or survivors that were there, and they were taking pictures and they were smiling and representing and celebrating their loved one. And they come back year after year to see me. One this year said, "I came and your husband said you were here, but you must have been ministering to somebody because I couldn't find you. So I had to come back to the next walk so I could get my picture." So it's just, when we go into schools and we talk about that power of positivity, we had one young man that said he was okay, very low in the back of the room. And I had said, my question had been, "What were 5 things you learned that day?" And one girl said, "Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Tell your loved ones you love them today. And can I come up and get a hug?" But he said he was okay. And I said, let's tell a story. Did anybody wake up today and not feel well? Headache, stomach ache, anxious. 3 young ladies raised their hand. And I said, "Well, you 3 ladies, I see you. We recognize you." I said, "You seem like you're doing okay. You're laughing, you're smiling, you're working on, the project that we're working on. Did getting up and getting dressed and coming out and being with your peers help?" And they all said yes. And so I looked at the young man. I said, "You're as normal as they are, but let's paint a picture." And when we painted that picture, I said, "In the last 2 weeks, be brutally honest and tell me if you felt that way, because it's okay not to be okay." And all but one person in that room of 80 plus raised their hand. And he screamed from the back of the room he was okay. He came up afterwards and he said, "The dark thoughts have been so deep. I had it all planned out." He said, "Today is the first day in my whole life," he was a senior in high school, "that I felt normal. You saved my life today," because we started a discussion. So that's what I always tell people, have that safe person, that safe word, that, ask for forgiveness later if you walk out of a meeting or whatever. But when that person texts you or calls you with that safe word, drop everything, because they're not going to overuse it. When they need you, they want to reach out and know that you're going to help keep them off that ledge. Or my safe word was, "Make me laugh." And if you got that call, then they would tell me a story, make me laugh, and humor would help me ground again, right? So,
We
so
all need that.
yeah,
We all need that humor, that joy, and just that permission to not be okay and to be able to talk about it. I think the world, especially in the world of social media and all the other things that are going on, it's like, present this perfectly curated life. And the reality is all of us are struggling throughout, we have different chapters where we're really struggling. And just to create that space where you feel like you have the permission to say, "I'm not okay," or "I need this," or "I need support," or "I need community." And you're just creating that space and that support system for these children and also for these families. It's incredible.
So I admit all of their get-togethers, everything, Dr. Mary's name always comes up with the thumbs up story, and I just laugh at them.
I'm never going to take a photo without thinking about that and or putting both my thumbs up.
So the group that I was talking about, we did a lunch and learn. Then we asked them what type of kids they wanted to help, and they said foster kids. They decided to do penny wars and volleyball tournaments or whatever. And then we scheduled a service day, and they came in, and we had the directors from 2 of the different foster agencies come in to explain how they can volunteer for them, what the impact of the bags was going to be, how they use the bags within their program. And at the end of the day, the teacher said, "Everybody out in the hall." Now, this was like a 3-month span, right? And she said, "I want to take a picture." And she stood up on a chair to do like an aerial shot. And she said, "Okay, everybody smile." And do you know what 80 kids did? I started laughing, and they said, "We do it all the time. We recognize each other and that we're all special and that we all have our moments." So that just goes to show kids listen. They need that exposure. They need that discussion. They need to be able to feel good. That same group, I had asked them what they had done the year before, and they had raised $5,000. And I said, "What did they do with it?" And they couldn't tell me. I said, "That's so wrong." Because you can't just hand a check over. You want to make sure that you are engaged with whatever it is that it tweaks your heart. It's your passion and your purpose. And that's why we help so many different kids. I'm not going to tell you which kid is most important to me. Who's important to you? You're the one donating your time and your resources and your funding or whatever.
Watch our Emmy-nominated documentary series featuring the girl inside and in tandem on our website or on our YouTube channel today. Check out onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com today. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel for our documentaries, videos, and podcast episodes. So you've done so much, Dr. Mary, in a few short years, it feels like, but I know you've accomplished so much. Susie Q's Kids has done so much, and you just continue to grow and evolve and just continue to create this space and create these bags for people in need. Where do you and Susie Q's Kids go from here? And like, what are you working on right now?
Ah, you know, um, we are the author of our own lives, right? So every day we get to get up and decide what our day is going to be. Every book that you've ever read, the ins and outs are different people, places, and things. They're not on every page of a book. They ebb and flow. And so if I can help people to author their lives in a more positive perspective, that's wonderful, right? And there's so many things that can come from offering a smile or offering, a moment of assistance or whatnot. So right now we are partnering with Phi Theta Kappa, which is the honor society, and they are in the high schools and the colleges. And so they just reached out to us, and we're trying to build a platform so that they can do throughout the state of Michigan. Different ways to help nonprofits in their area that's their passion and purpose and they're advocates for. And so with building that platform, oh my goodness, we can help people in the UP, up north or across the state on the west side of the state or here locally, and who knows what the future will hold, right?
Well, I can't wait to see where you go from here, and I can't wait to continue to follow all the great work that you're doing. What can people do, people that are listening, what can they do to support your work, and what can they do to get involved?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like Facebook has fundraisers, right? You could do a fundraiser on Facebook to raise funds for us to help kids out. We have a platform that we can tailor and tell a story. It could be maybe that you're a survivor, or you're honoring someone that has passed, or your brownie troop, or Girl Scout troop, or Boy Scouts, or cheer team, or whatever it is, um, that you want to do a collection. So we could do that. So we can collect funds, we can collect in-kind products. So we had an example of one school that every grade had a different items that they had to collect, and then they had the Knights of Columbus, and they had the senior groups, and they had all these different groups. Everybody collaborated to bring their piece together that made the whole, and we made 200 bags that day. And so, whatever and however your ideas come to you, we can always try to figure out what is the best way. So we have collection boxes that you can use, the fundraisers. You can volunteer for us. You can help us at suicide walks. You can help us with deliveries and packaging. And so I always tell people, give me a call. Let's chat, see how we connect with each other. And if you have an idea, I'm open. Let me hear it.
I think it's also so important that we mention too that people can emulate your work. We're right. Like, I hope that people get involved. I hope that they donate. But also, we all know people that maybe are going through a difficult time, or someone who is spending time in the hospital, or maybe they have a kid spending time in the hospital, and even putting together like a little bag with snacks and treats and things. Like, we can all do something like that. And that's what I like to talk about also on this podcast is we need to also look at our neighbors and our family members and our friends and say, what can I do to serve them in a little way? Because it can have a similar ripple effect.
Absolutely. It's the power of positivity, how that smile can really flip that script, right? How getting up in the morning and being there. My journal talked in my books, I talk about the 4 aspects of positive reflection. And, it really resonates throughout. In my journal, I wrote 2 questions. I tell the questions all the time, so you never have to buy it. But the 2 questions are 8 o'clock tonight. What did you do for yourself? And what did you do for someone else? And I say that because your life is not in balance if you're doing everything for somebody else and you forgot to take time for yourself. You end up burning out, right? We've all done it. We've all, give it our go, and then the body says, no, no more. Or we're all about ourselves and we're so caught up in our depression or anxiety or whatever it is that we're dealing with that we have no one to talk to that's going to give us that burst of humor or expression of how, we've made their day feel better. How, so it's a give and take. You have to be able to balance it. And so at 8 o'clock tonight, if, you did something for everybody else, grab a bowl of ice cream, take a walk, read a book, whatever it is, just don't call me tomorrow and tell me you gained weight because you ate ice cream. I had someone do that. Or you were all about yourself, then call your mom or your neighbor or take the dog for a walk, interact with somebody else, because they just how often do you just feel better when somebody out of clear blue just calls you and says, hey, I was thinking of you, right? You
Yes.
feel that feeling that you felt. On their side, they're feeling, oh my God, she thinks I'm important enough to call me out of her busy schedule. And so, yeah. So find balance in life.
And we can all do that, right? Texting somebody that we're thinking of and just letting them know that they're loved or giving them a phone call. It's so important. And we need to create space to do that more and love on one another. Dr. Mary, if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do every single day, I know maybe a piece of it is Susie and her legacy, but if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do every single day, especially on those difficult days, because I know there are days where you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders, what would you say that root is?
I love people. I love to collaborate. I love to be that connector to make your day or anybody else's day just a little bit brighter. I can't fix anything. None of us can fix anybody, right? We can give them tools and we can give them ideas and we can expose them, but they have to do their own work, right? But if they don't know where to turn, then the moments are lost, right? And so whenever I can share a moment with somebody and know that I have truly helped them just by listening or just by acknowledging what they're doing, that gives me an inner peace. And people ask me this question all the time, and I said, sometimes I feel guilty. I feel guilty that I wake up every day with a passion and a purpose to make another child smile in honor of my daughter. I have 5 other children, a whole bunch of grandkids, all of them. I don't talk about them every day, but I can call and hug them any day, right? And so that we're able to make this place a little bit brighter, a little bit better, and do it together. That's what keeps me going.
Well, you are such a beacon of light, and I can't wait to continue to follow everything that you're doing and stay in touch with you. I will be sure to put Susie Q's Kids, the link to your website, the link to your books, and all the different ways that people can get involved and hear more from you and follow you on social media. I will be sure to put all of those links in the show notes. But before I let you go, Mary, I have a couple of questions, 2 questions left. You are a one girl revolution. That's why I wanted to have you on this podcast. Susie's also a one girl revolution. I know you also work and are surrounded by work with and are surrounded by so many incredible women and girls. But I'm curious to know, who is a one girl revolution in your life? Who is a woman or girl that inspires you?
Uh, you said it. There are so many, right? The one that I will say right now that is really blooming and is making an impact on so many other girls and women is another one of my daughters. Her name is Dusty Welsh, and she created a girls entrepreneur boot camp, and so she does 6 7 week sessions, and she takes you from the idea that you can do something in a business perspective to actually putting it to paper so that you can actually start it. And so young girls, women, older women, doesn't matter. She's got that capacity, and then she's also the entrepreneur in residence at Velocity Center in Sterling Heights, Michigan. So her magnitude and her ability to connect just like I do with multiple people is very endearing, and it's always, who did you know first, me or my daughter? It's always the question.
Well, I know you're such a proud mama and a proud grandmama. I know you have, these sweet little babes around you too. And I'm so excited for the next little grandbaby to make her appearance.
Yeah.
But before I let you go, I always end this podcast on one question. So I'd like to ask you, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, Mary, what would it be?
I said it early. You are the author of your life. You get to embrace each day and write that chapter. And some days, ah, the chapters are ucky, right? Put it to bed. Wake up in the morning. Don't let it overshadow your new day. Embrace the new day with a shining, outlook, and make it a great day. And so life ebbs and flows. It just ebbs and flows, right? And so realize that it's just one day. It's really truly just one day. So embrace it. It's when they all come together that true life story that you created and the impact that you had on so many makes a difference. And you are exciting. You are amazing. You got this. You can do it. 2 thumbs up to all the ladies and girls out there, because we're rocking it out and we're doing it together, right?
We are. I'm always going to be thinking, every time I take a photo, I'm going to be thinking about the 2 thumbs up. And I also just want to say, too, on that same note of what you're leaving us with, is thinking about Susie and how she saw every day as there was a reason she was here, and she had a purpose, and every day had a purpose. And so I think it's so important for us to, like you said, turn the page to the yucky chapters, or the chapters that are the days that we're not having a good day. Turn the page, and the next day wake up and start over again. But also to recognize that there is power in every single day, and there's a reason, a purpose for every day. There's a reason why we're here.
Just be kind. That's the underlying premise, is be kind to yourself and be kind to others. She called me one time and she said a young man, they cut his clothes off, whatever happened in the waiting room and emergency room, and she said, it's indignant, Mom. He got open-ended outfit on, and she's like, go get him some clothes and some shoes and some socks and whatnot. And I said, what's he look like? And she started to describe him. And I said, no, compare him to your brother. What size is he? And when we got there, I brought a whole outfit for him within the hour. And she wanted to share him with me. And I said, No, this I'm just a conduit. Just be that conduit to make another person feel human, feel welcome, feel, that they're important because that smile that you offered or she offered or that extended hand made all the difference in that young man's life at that moment and maybe made the trajectory of the rest of his life a lot brighter, right?
Yeah.
So thank you for what you do, for sharing the stories of all these women and girls out there, that are revolutionizing our world, right? It's without somebody telling the story and making sure it's told, those little nuggets just disappear and they need to be told. So my gratitude goes to you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Mary. And I'm so grateful to have had you on the podcast. Like I said, I will put all of the links to your website and your social media and all the different ways that people can get in touch with you in the show notes. Thank you so much, Dr. Mary, for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. And thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you. We're better together.
For more from One Girl Revolution, to listen to all of our podcast episodes, watch our Emmy-nominated documentary series, follow us on social media, donate to our nonprofit organization, and more, please visit onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.